After studying this module, you shall be able to know about community psychology, learn about the me-we balance, and understand how positive psychology and community psychology can be integrated. Positive psychology and community psychology share many common principles and goals, such as adopting a strengths-based focused approach and defining mental health as different from the absence of illness. Despite these commonalities, there have been very few attempts to integrate these domains. It is very important to integrate the two, as both these fields can learn from each other. It will benefit the field of positive psychology since it has focused mostly on the individual and ignored groups and communities. Community psychology is a way of thinking about people's behavior and well-being in the context of community environments and social systems. This perspective can be applied to a very wide range of contemporary problems. The field of community psychology is still developing, and therefore it is difficult to incorporate it in the discipline of psychology for several reasons. It simultaneously emphasizes both application and theory-based research. It focuses not just on the individual but on multiple levels of analysis, that is, groups, organizations, and communities. The field of community psychology covers a broad range of settings and substantive areas. The multiple roles of community psychologists in the creation of social systems include promoting individual growth and preventing social and mental health problems, providing appropriate forms of intervention when and where they are most needed, and enabling those who have been labeled as deviant to live dignified and empowered lives. There are many allied fields of community psychology. Community psychology is similar to public health since it promotes healthy lifestyles and environments, considers problems at the population level, and adopts a preventive approach. Community psychologists try to prevent problems rather than waiting for them to become serious. But community psychology differs from public health since it also focuses on social, mental, and physical health as well as overall well-being. Community psychology is also like social work, except that it is backed up by strong research. It relies on rigorous research which aims at alleviating social problems. It deals with community organization, human services, delivery system, and support network. It also focuses on the problem of clients and workers as opposed to only the goals and values of management. Community psychology also shares clinical psychology's action orientation as well as its goal of helping people in distress. However, an important difference between community and clinical psychology is the helping person's point of intervention with respect to location and timing. Community psychology originated due to the dissatisfaction with the clinician's tendency to locate the problem in the individual, whereas community psychology focuses on the threats to mental health which are located in the social environment. They focus on health rather than illness and on enhancing the competencies of the individual, small groups, organizations, and communities. Another difference is that community psychology is more proactive while clinical psychology is more reactive. Principles of community psychology. The major principles of community psychology are: it challenges traditional mode of thought. It avoids blaming the victim for problems or labeling people as deviant and focuses on the whole ecological system, including political, cultural, and environmental influences. It encourages citizen participation and recognizes the demand for local empowerment, bureaucratic decentralization, and self-help. It simultaneously stresses the utility of research not only for theory development but for program evaluation and policy analysis. It appreciates and celebrates the cultural diversity and authority of cultural and historical contexts. It emphasizes personal competency and strengths as opposed to weakness and pathology. The community perspective includes a focus on broader ecological levels than the level of the exclusive treatment of the individual. Individualism and collectivism represent contrasting set of values, norms, assumptions and ideologies that vary across cultures and are expressed in social behavior. Individualism is associated with independence, autonomy, agency, emotional detachment from others and competition, whereas collectivism is associated with cooperation, emotional attachment to others, concerns with others' opinions, and attention to the family. Cultures as a whole can be characterized in terms of individualism and collectivism. Let us understand the aspects of individualistic societies. There are three primary aspects of individualistic societies: a sense of independence, a desire to stand out relative to others, which is a need for uniqueness, and the use of self for the individual as the unit of analysis. Collectivism. When the average person in a society is disposed towards group interdependence, then the society is a collectivistic society. People live together because human beings are social animals. In this regard, one of our strongest human motives is to belong, to feel as if we are connected in meaningful ways with other people. And Fawcett and Khorasani have argued that people prosper when they join together into social units to pursue shared goals. The main aspects of collectivism are dependency, conformity, and perception of the group as the fundamental unit of analysis. In collectivistic cultures, people pay close attention to the rules and goals of the group and often may sacrifice their personal needs to those of the group. People derive a sense of satisfaction and success from the group reaching its combined goal. Collectivistic people are thoughtful about duties and obligations of the group they belong to and are more involved in the activities of the group. Me and we is equal to us, the positive psychology of us. Individualism and collectivism have often been conceptualized as opposites. Oiseman and colleagues found that people in the US indeed were high in individualism, but they were not necessarily lower than others in collectivism. Placing individualism and collectivism on opposite poles may cause disputes among the members of both groups. Cultures are extremely diverse and dynamic, and hence it is difficult to simply label them as individualist and collectivist. Oiseman and her colleagues suggested that we should move beyond the rather static view of individualism and collectivism as separate categories and instead take more dynamic approaches to culture to find when, where, and why these mental sets operate. They argued for an understanding of how individualism and collectivism can operate together to benefit people. Hence, we should learn to embrace aspects of both. Positive psychology approach believes in equating the me and we emphasis. The state of balance in one's view and action is the characteristic of a happy and productive life. This allows the person to attend to both the person and the group. Community wellness. The approach of community wellness attempts to balance the promotion of individual wellness with the collective goals of the community. According to this approach, communities enhance the factors that create individual wellness and provide the resources to promote individual flourishing. Moose describes three broad areas that enhance well-being: strength of social ties, directions of personal growth, and level of structure provided by the environment. Both positive psychology and community psychology understand that empowering individuals is an essential aspect of promoting wellness. Positive psychology draws on the principles of community psychology to better understand the structural and contextual issues related to well-being. Environmental structures such as human rights, democracy, and equality vary with levels of subjective well-being across nations. Communities also promote supportive, positive relationships by clearly defining roles and fostering group cohesion. Promoting community wellness requires political and societal organizations to redistribute resources, promote democracy, and empower individuals. Hence, linking positive psychological understanding of well-being with an ecological perspective is crucial to the synthesis between positive and community psychology. It is important to carry out an analysis of the workplace, school, and other environmental spaces related to well-being to understand the contextual aspects that promote well-being and develop strengths. Positive psychologists aim not only to define psychology to promote strengths and well-being, but to shift the focus of education, humanities, health, and public policy. Community capacity towards positivity refers to enhancing positive emotions, engagement, meaning, and purpose of the community members. Enhancing community capacity towards positivity is similar to Maslow's notion that societies or cultures can be either growth promoting or growth inhibiting. Growth promoting communities promote individual and community strengths. Positive psychology provides a language of strengths and specific interventions aimed to promote community well-being through developing and enhancing strengths. Several paradigms in community psychology, such as empowerment evaluation and community-based participatory research, focus upon the collaborative nature of researchers and community members. These approaches are beneficial because they allow community participants to have an active role in designing and implementing the interventions that will benefit their community. Adoption of these concepts in positive psychology can provide a useful framework for strength-based interventions. Strength-based interventions begin with an assessment of individual strengths and a focus on building those strengths. It is important to develop methods of assessing and enhancing strengths at a community level because simply combining results of individual assessments of well-being and strengths does not provide a sufficient assessment of the well-being or strengths of a community. The role of a well-functioning community is to provide the structure necessary to pursue individual and group values. This structure should balance the needs of all members of the community and equalize opportunities by providing equal access to power and resources. This balance requires not only psychological intervention but also social and political actions that must be guided by psychological research, linking individual wellness with community change. Applying the theories of individual well-being can help in community-level changes. For example, individuals often return to baseline levels of well-being following changes in life circumstances such as a raise at work or a new house. This is partly due to individuals adjusting their expectations to be consistent with their current life conditions and results in requiring more resources to be satisfied. As resources increase, individuals may constantly compare themselves to higher standards. Promoting equality of resources may therefore actually increase individual well-being. Considering these findings, it is not surprising that countries with higher levels of income equality contain happier citizens, according to Diener and Saar. In many cases, relative deprivation may be more important than absolute deprivation. As the income disparity between the rich and poor widens across the world and within nations, individuals compare themselves to richer and more privileged others. However, individuals speedily adapt to it as they find examples of privileged others. This could be counteracted through equalizing access to limited resources. Diener and Seligman emphasize that social networks and community bonds are essential components of the well-being of societies. Therefore, they argue that policymakers should aim to promote the psychological resources of communities rather than just focusing on increasing economic vitality. Empowerment refers to the notion that individuals and communities possess the skills and strengths necessary to flourish and function. Hence, the goal of a researcher or practitioner should be to mobilize this potential. Integrating positive psychology and community psychology. Community psychology has much to offer positive psychology by providing research and theoretical approaches to overcome the dearth of community-based and systems-level research within positive psychology. Moreover, positive psychologists recognize a need for further research investigating the third pillar of positive psychology, that is, positive institutions. In this regard, promoting research requires expanding conceptions of individual well-being to include contextual and community aspects. This shift may enhance positive psychology's focus on subjective evaluations, mental states, and psychological interventions with a discussion of policy issues and social justice. Since positive psychology grew out of dissatisfaction with the typical medical model, it is time for positive psychology to break from the constraints of psychological research and integrate theories and interventions that are missing from the psychological literature. Practitioners applying positive psychology are beginning to recognize that focusing too much on the individual handicaps the ability to effectively recommend and evaluate system-level changes. Researchers can address this by attending to different levels of analysis and adopting an ecological perspective to conduct research. Community psychology has a long and theoretically rich history that can help in understanding the community and contextual factors that promote wellness. It can also aid intervention efforts to build these factors. Community psychology applies an ecological perspective to both theory and research and describes the complex interplay between different units of analysis. It has failed, however, to produce a unifying conception of exactly what construct interventions should be promoting. Even though community psychologists have championed the values of equality, human rights and democracy, they have failed to include careful measurements of subjective well-being and human strengths. Positive psychology offers community psychologists more theoretical and empirical tools for assessing wellness and emphasizing subjective well-being and character strengths. As positive and community psychology share a common goal to improve human well-being by gaining understanding of the psychological processes that promote well-being, both community and positive psychologists have much to gain through collaboration with each other. As these traditions are quite related to each other due to their shared goals and values, both sides could benefit from integrating aspects from the other field. The theoretical foundation of community psychology, combined with the recent empirical endeavors of positive psychologists, could complement each other and help psychology add value to people's lives and build individual and community wellness. Let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. Positive psychology and community psychology share many common principles and goals, such as adopting a strengths-focused approach and defining mental health as different from the absence of illness. Despite these commonalities, there have been very few attempts to integrate these domains. Community psychology is a way of thinking about people's behavior and well-being in the context of community environments and social systems. The multiple roles of community psychologists in the creation of social systems include promoting individual growth and preventing social and mental health problems, providing appropriate forms of intervention when and where they are most needed, and enabling those who have been labeled as deviant to live dignified and empowered lives. The major principles of community psychology are: it challenges traditional mode of thought, avoids blaming the victim for problems or labeling people as deviant, and focuses on the whole ecological system, including political, cultural, and environmental influences, encourages citizen participation, etc. Individualism is associated with independence, autonomy, agency, emotional detachment from others, and competition, whereas collectivism is associated with cooperation, emotional attachment to others, concerns with others' opinions, and attention to family. Positive psychology approach believes in equating the me and we emphasis. The approach of community wellness attempts to balance the promotion of individual wellness with the collective goals of the community. Applying the theories of individual well-being can help in community level changes. As positive and community psychology share a common goal to improve human well-being by gaining understanding of the psychological processes that promote well-being, both community and positive psychologists have much to gain through collaboration with each other.